Hi, welcome to Bar Cart Bookshelf, a video series about books and the drinks they inspire. My name is Elias, and today we're talking about The SUNFORGE by Sascha Stronach. The SUNFORGE is the second book in the End Song trilogy. We talked about the first book, The Dawn Hounds, back when it was released in 2022. It's like queer, biological, science fantasy, fever dream. It's a book, The Dawn Hounds is a book that you just allow to wash over you. And The SUNFORGE is much the same way, though I found this easier to follow from the get. It is sometimes the case that second books in trilogies can feel like a bridge between the introduction and the finale. And that is not the case with the SUNFORGE. I had hoped to reread The Dawn Hounds when it came SUNFORGE time, and, given the amount of material that we cover here on Bar Cart Bookshelf, and the fact that I'm like a working person who lives a life, that makes rereading very hard. But it is also nice to visit a second book or a later book in the series without rereading, because one, you look with fresh eyes, and two, it's good for a book to be able to stand on its own, even when the memory of preceding volumes are sort of somewhat distant. And, many times when we're young, certainly this was a common experience for me, we come into books that are further along in the series. That's what's available at your library, book, whatever, 6 of this 11-book series, or, And so being able to sort of jump right in or jump back in is a really fun thing in fantasy as a genre. And one that I think can work here with the SUNFORGE. My memory of The Dawn Hounds was a bit hazy. I really liked it. But we read a lot of books, read a lot since then. And that haziness of memory in no way affected my ability to enjoy the SUNFORGE, because the SUNFORGE rocks. It's like, again, it's the emotional experience of a novel that you just sort of let wash over you. Things are happening, a city's on fire, there are rats in the grass and lunatics howling in the streets. Well, not so much. There's no one, no bodies. And it really hits at that buzzy inflection point of science fiction and fantasy. It is a science fantasy that really has these elements of the science and then these undeniable elements of divinity and godliness, and if it is science, then it is so unexplainable, so we have to call it magic. And it's rooted in this exploration of colonialism, of global hegemony, of queerness, of transness specifically, of transformation, and the fight for existence. It's a powerful novel. It's one, you should definitely read The Dawn Hounds, but if it's been a while since you've read The Dawn Hounds, don't be afraid to leap into the SUNFORGE. And I know I will be eagerly awaiting the third volume of the trilogy when it comes along, because it's just, these are books that they're fast-paced, they're an emotional experience, things are happening, and you're able to follow them on along, but you're also just getting wrapped up in the milieu of it all. It's just affecting, really affecting. And so, of course, we had to have our drink. Our drink today is the Radovan. It's named for the city that we see here on the cover of the SUNFORGE, a city that has been devastated by this sort of attack. It's burning. There are no people around when we encounter the city. And we have this wonderful interplay in the first half of the novel as we go back to what preceded this cataclysm and then forward to the present day and intersperse those moments. This city, Radovan, is mentioned in the Dawnhounds, but this is, where we see it. It's formerly a head of an empire, a capital of an empire that has sort of dissolved and is undergoing a sort of fascistic, reactionary political movement. We have these really conservative, reactionary Varuhi who are sort of on the rise in the city. And that doubles up on the threats that we see from the sort of cosmic and spiritual side of things. It's really, we're reading a lot of timely books this November, December here on Bar Cart Bookshelf with, The Mountain Crown last week, Kalina the Cutthroat, Metal from Heaven, The SUNFORGE. We're getting those timely books. And I think it's a good thing to sit with. And so, our drink today, the Radovan, is inspired by the state in which we find this city. This sort of smoking ruin, this like bitter, metallic, there's something funky to it. And we're going to start with 2 ounces of white rum. I'm using the Probitas rum today because sometimes white rums can be sort of understated. And we want something that's going to hold up to our other ingredients, not just be an alcoholic base, but bring its own intensity of flavor. And this Probitas, it makes a wonderful daiquiri. It's got that little bit of funk to it, that little bit of edge that feels really in keeping with the funkiness, the weirdness of this series. We've got 2 ounces of our white rum, and find something funky for that. Probitas is wonderful. If it's not available near you, try something else. Something Jamaican, maybe. That's a good funky sort of rum. That'll suit you well. Now, we'll get our modifiers, our sweeteners in there. We're going to get 1/2 an ounce of Lapsang Souchong syrup. This is made with that smoked Lapsang Souchong tea. We've used it a couple of times recently. It's going to bring a real smokiness to our drink, that sort of char, but it's also going to bring texture because it's a syrup, and it's going to bring that sweetness as well. We got to have that balance of bite and sweetness in a really well-made cocktail. Next, we're going to get 1/4 ounce of coffee liqueur, using Kahlua today, because, again, we've got some really intense flavors here. I want that extra bit of sweetness. Oftentimes I'll use my own homemade coffee liqueur, but here I think that extra bit of something, sweeter, rounder, is going to help balance everything out for us. So we'll get 1/4 ounce of our coffee liqueur, our Kahlua, into our mixing glass, and then 1/4 ounce of the Amaro Alta Verde. This is a super bitter Amaro, bittersweet liqueur, emphasis on the bitter, and it's going to bring that pininess, that woodsiness, that bitter bite, that intensity of herbal flavors to it. This is in a sort of mountainous region, so we're getting some of that in there as well. And we sort of want this to feel like a bonfire, And then finally, I'm going to get a bar spoon of hot chili tincture, because we're bringing the heat. Just a bar spoon. There we go. And if a little splashes over, that's okay. Alrighty. got all of our liquid ingredients in our mixing glass. Get our ice down in there. Perfect. And give it a stir. This is just like, you got people dying and dying and dying and being reborn and dying and dying and dying and being reborn and not shying away from the pain of that, and just really, it's that perfect blend of science fiction and fantasy that you want from a science fantasy. That, really, they're affecting books. They're emotionally palpable books. Lovely. To end our Bar Cart bookshelf year with intensity, get that stirred and strain into a stemmed glass, like so. Perfect. And so there you have it. This is the Radovan, inspired by the SUNFORGE by Sascha Stronach. The SUNFORGE is available now. I've got a link to snag it in the description down below, as well as links to various forms of social media, including Twitter, Instagram, and mostly these days Blue Sky, where there is always a written version of today's recipe. Try the drink, let me know what you think. Got a link to snag my book, Cocktails and Consoles, 75 Cocktails and Mocktails Inspired by the Wonderful World of Video Games. If dying and starting over and dying and starting over is your thing, video games and song trilogy, bing bang boom, you're good to go. Yeah, try the drink. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. This is our final episode of 2024. We're going to be taking a couple weeks break for the end of the year, and we will be back with you all on January 7th. I hope you have a wonderful holiday season, a wonderful end of the year. Try the drink, hit that like button, let me know what you think in the comments down below, subscribe if you haven't already, and until next time, cheers.